All right.
It is February 27th, 9 a.m. We will call this board meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. And let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Derek, I accidentally called you.
Oh, I noticed
Pledge
that.
of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Charlie, don't make me laugh right before we say
Hi, Charlie.
My phone on quiet.
Commissioner Houston, can you take Charlie's phone away from him?
It appears we have a little comic relief on the end of that.
I was quick putting it on quiet.
Accidentally called Derek.
County Board minutes of February 20th, 2018.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the minutes from last week.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Review and approval of agenda. Sue, you said you had something?
Yes, I do. Under item 6C, it states closed session to discuss litigation. It should state to schedule a closed session.
Okay.
With that change, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any changes or discussions? Excuse me. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have any issues they would like to pull for further discussions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Houston. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Mr. Bob Hebela, Auditor Treasurer.
Hey, good morning, Board. This morning we're going to try to give you Government Accounting 101 in 5 minutes. We had this on the agenda last week to present to you January's report, both on the cash basis and on the modified. I have Lindsay here to kind of walk you through what do we mean by modified, what does the accruals really mean. But just to give you an idea, we have $10 million worth of actual cash expenditures that went out the door in January, but only $7.4 million of it applies to 2018. So the goal of the modified accrual is to match our actual expenditures with the budgeted years. So when I present to you December, it's how are we doing? How much of that is really our fund balance? I won't know December until sometime in March. Lindsay, you want to try to give them a 2-minute accrual versus cash?
So for starters, as you know, cash operates very similarly to a checkbook. Cash in, cash out, right? The modified accrual basis for governmental accounting, because governments focus on current resources, instead of being a full accrual like the masses, general public companies that accrue anything related to the year into the year, we have a 60-day window as a government. So until Thursday, I really can't give you a true picture of how 2017 looks. Thursday being March 1st, we hit that 60-day window. So what happens then is we have to go through the process of identifying any revenues or expenses that are related to the prior year, to 2017, and we shift them from 2018 back into 2017 so that we have that true picture. There are a couple things that we do at year end in order to make sure that we're capturing all of those transactions. For starters, I send out a year-end questionnaire to all the departments. I ask them to help us identify what kind of transactions are you expecting to hit in January and February that I need to be aware of that really actually belongs back to 2017. I do some analysis comparing current year balances to the prior year balances, looking for anything that's different by unknown items. You know, if there are differences that we expect, I don't look at those at all because we know what's happening. Debt service, for example, we know what to expect. So I don't dig into those variances unless they're unusual. So going through the process of all of that, as well as in some instances, I do a very nitty-gritty detailed review of transactions to see what they are, should they go back. And at a certain point in time, we start applying a materiality where I'm not going to deal with a $20 transaction if it's not material. But when it gets to $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 transactions, we start looking at those a little bit more specifically. And as I said, we don't really know our 2017 financial results until our 60-day close, which is this Thursday. And then obviously we need some time to go through the transactions that have impacted us. We look at specifically for revenues and receivables, grants, and other state funding. I take a very holistic view of those transactions to see what has hit and what needs to be accrued. And I have to offset it with certain expenditures that have happened in many instances as it relates to grant.
Does anybody have any questions for Lindsay?
That's a very good explanation,
Thank
thanks.
Boy, government finance in a minute 32, that is pretty good. Again, just giving an idea, if we just drill in on the expenses, salaries, a good portion of our first pay period in 18 was accrued to last year. So we can drill into every one of these expenses, and we're using this to do our analytics. Does it smell right? Does it look right? So today I'm just trying to impress you the difference between cash basis reporting and modified accrual reporting. The December report that you've already approved has been modified. I'm not presenting that to you today. I just want to present the concept idea today. In February, the December gets modified again, and then in March, it should be done. So today, my goal was just to show you a little bit of difference between cash basis and modified.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Bob, so when March's report comes out, then we'll have basically the final for 2017 and know exactly expenditures, revenue, everything will be spelled out there, and we'll get a real clear picture how 17 turned out.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Potter, we will be pretty good. We do have to go through the audit.
Correct.
So we're confident that our
I
numbers will
expect
be
this to be good, but we'll have solid numbers versus arbitrary, like until we get the accrual done.
correct.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Bob, I do have one.
Yep.
With OpenGov now, that's what this is, correct?
Yes.
And has that all been tied together yet?
The interfacing?
Yep.
I know that there's a meeting coming up. There are members of IT and OpenGov working together to get that perfected. It's very close.
Okay, okay. And then once we do get that done, will we be allowing, this will be posted on the website to be able to?
There will be screenshots of it. Again, we'll be working with Lee and maybe the information officer as to, what will be pushed out transparency-wise. Our guidelines will continue to be pushed out there, but OpenGov will give you kind of like that narrative of how these numbers are.
A little bit easier for
Absolutely.
the public to understand.
And Mr. Chair, if I may.
So Charlie had a question.
Well, I just wanted to run a little scenario. So let's say we have a piece of equipment and that we don't use very often, let's say something out at highway, and it breaks down at the end of 2016. We repair it, we send it off to get fixed in 2017, and we get it back in service, but we don't use it, but we don't get the bill till 2018. When do you
Mr. Chair,
expense it?
Commissioners, what we look for is the actual incurrence of the expenditure or the revenue. So if we actually incurred the expenses in 17.
Well, no, because you didn't get the bill till 2018.
Right, but if we incurred the expense in 17, we would go from the incurrence.
Okay.
Still incurred even if you didn't get the bill yet.
So when it was repaired.
Right.
Okay.
Commissioner Vetch?
I was gonna say, just one of the reasons that, not turning it out full face forward to the public, myself and Bob, we found even just some small little glitches in terms of how information, when it carries from year to year, if you gave people carte blanche all the information, some of it, we found just from with the way the data is entered in there, that there's some glitches that we have to kind of modify out. So until all those things have been kind of vetted out and we know that all the information that's put out to the public
Is accurate?
is accurate.
Right, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, working with Lindsay, we do the accruals back to December 31st. They also impact January 2nd. So again, if I push this out in January, things can change, and I think it'd beget a lot of other questions. Why are these numbers changing? But as we continue to vet out all of our accruals, they do impact our reports.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, Mr. Chair, with that, I'll make a motion to approve the January revenue expenditure budget report.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch, to approve January cash basis and modified accrual reports. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Chief Deputy Todd Hoffman from the Sheriff's Office.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Today I'm here to request a working out a class for Office Tech 2 Kristen Hoyne. Quick background on this, the Wright County Sheriff's Office has 3 TAS, Technical Application Specialist positions within the organization. We currently, as of today, have 2 of those filled. We have 1 open position. One of our TAS, Jody Ganyu, has accepted a position with a company that handles our RMS system. Originally, her last day was going to be February 23rd. She pushed that back to this coming Friday, March 2nd. That would leave us with 2 open technical application specialist positions. And this position that she's vacating is very important to us. It basically handles everything with regards to basically everything that we do in the sheriff's office, our dispatch, our records management, our jail type stuff, handling the Zerker product. To kind of work as a stopgap, Sheriff Hagerty has appointed Kristen Hoyne to fill that position on a temporary basis until we can get that position hired up. So she's going to be working in that capacity as a TAS person starting Monday, March 5th. We have done similar out-of-class positions before, and sounds like in about a week I'll be coming back to you again. We have a sergeant that's going to be leaving on extended medical in the courts facility, and we're going to ask for another working out-of-class in that position. So I believe there's a 1 step from an Office Tech 2, which Kristen Hoyne is currently, up to a Technical Application Specialist, I believe.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Deputy, how long do you anticipate this temporary assignment is going to last?
Good question. The current opening that we have in the Sheriff's Office has been open since July. We've went through 3 rounds of testing, interview process. We are in the process of looking at 2 candidates for one of these positions. Hopefully we'll be making a decision here in the next week or so. So the last one's been open 7 months or more. So I'm hoping it's going to go much
And Chief Deputy, the reason I asked that question is to let the public know that your challenges on filling some positions, and they've been going on and on and on and on, and it's a challenge for them. And so you're doing what you can with the resources you have to make ends meet right now. So if somebody questions, why are you doing this, why are you doing that, they'll get a little bit of background there, because it's like you're not the only department that's having a challenge filling positions here. And hopefully one of those 2 candidates will work out and we can move forward. But thank you for the explanation.
Commissioner Houston.
Yeah, we definitely have to get this position filled. Kristen is a longtime employee. The sheriff, has made this decision, and I think that we need to move forward with it and approve this temporary assignment, no matter how long. I mean, within reason. I'm sure you're going to get someone else hired, but yeah. So I would move approval of this request, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Chief Deputy.
Committee minutes, Committee of the Whole. Sean, I'm going to put you on the spot. Since you did all the original info on it, would you mind taking these minutes and give us a sharp synopsis of the Committee of the Whole regarding the class comp study?
Here's, do you have the minutes, Sean?
I'm going to put you under gun. We'll see how you work under pressure.
All right.
He's good at summarizing.
Yeah, right. And that's all we need is a summarization.
Good morning, Commissioner members. The Committee of the Whole met on February 14th. We discussed the 8 proposals that we received for the class and comp study that we're planning on starting here in March. We reviewed all 8 proposals, and after discussion, we agreed to proceed to a final round with 3 of the candidates that submitted a proposal. One is Springstead. Let's see. The second company is Bjorklund, and the third company is Keystone. And we have all 3 companies coming in on March 6th for a Committee of the Whole meeting, and that'll be an opportunity for the commissioners to interview all 3 of the potential vendors and an opportunity to ask questions at that time. And then after that meeting, the commissioners will make a final decision regarding which vendor to proceed with.
Good.
Good enough.
That sounds good.
Anybody have any questions for Sean?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Committee of the Whole.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Houston. Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Like I say, and I've got stated in the minutes here that there were some anomalies with the last one. When there's some challenges with the last time around, we're hoping to avoid those this time around. And the companies we're picking from all have solid gold resumes behind them. So no matter who we pick on that, we're going to get some good results in this. And I'm looking forward to the process because it's been a long time since I did this process. And hopefully we get some good results that doesn't bog down administration with some of the challenges we've had with the last time around. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. No, the advantage too this time is we're going to do a class and comp study at the same
Correct.
time.
Right.
So hopefully things will go a little bit better and the employees will have a better understanding of some of the things that we do and why we do it. Okay. And I do have a motion and a second. Is there any other further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Houston, Personnel Committee.
All right. Personnel Employee Relations Committee met on February 14th, 2018. Members present, Houston Delyden and Sean Johnson. Others present, O'Malley, Partlow, Goodrum Schwartz, Kimberly Johnson, Adam Tagaro. The first the first request was to convert a position from accounting clerk to financial worker. Essentially, the accounting clerk has, the medical assistance portion of the Health and Human Services manages 2 different areas. One is the client eligibility and the other part client reimbursement. And the client reimbursement portion of the work is being offered back to the Financial Services Division. This would eliminate include the elimination of a vacant accounting clerk position and creation of a new financial worker position. This goes from grade 4 to grade 8. It would mean $4,700 more per year. However, it would be offset by a revenue increase of $13,000 due to projected increases in reimbursements from the state of Minnesota. Resources Director Sean Johnson stated it'd be a good time to move forward this can't talk today, departmental change since there is existing vacancy and current staff members would not be affected directly by this change. And we were in agreement, and the recommendation was to authorize Health and Human Services Department to convert a vacant accounting clerk position to a financial worker position. The second item was review of proposed teleworks procedures and guidelines. And we've been talking about this for a couple of years, actually, about having certain employees go out on teleworks. And Sean Johnson stated that County Coordinator, IT Director, Risk Manager, Human Resources Staff, and Health and Human Services have all reviewed the proposed teleworks policy, and we're going to have our labor attorney also look at that. And we discussed a pilot program for employees. We're looking at a 3-month program using Health and Human Services Department, and we're looking at 10 to 15 employees, and then they're going to evaluate whether or not to proceed with implementing the program countywide. This would be high-performing staff. They know would be successful working in that environment. Many of the employees are mobile already, so, and it's not going to be a good fit for everyone, of course. And we talked about a monitoring program and determined that, you know, we're not going to look into that at this time. So basically, it might be a 1 day or 3 day or 4 days, maybe 5 days per week. There might be a staff that works 2 days from home and another one that works 2 days from home. They're in the office for 3 days, and, you know, it'd be a kind of a job share or a desk share position. So, lost my sheet. So we, after some discussion, we determined that we'd authorize the Health and Human Services Department to implement 3-month telework pilot program beginning May 1st, and that could include a maximum of 15 employees. The Personnel Committee will reevaluate the teleworks program after 3 months to determine its future viability. The third request was for hiring a corrections officer applicant above 12%. And our jail administrator, Captain O'Malley, requested this applicant be hired at 18% above the minimum salary range. This candidate is moving back to the area, very interested in the position, and education and background in corrections is very extensive. And we have hired corrections officers in the past above this range. So our recommendation was to approve the request to hire the corrections officer at $24.10 per hour, or 18% above the minimum pay. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will move the minutes and the recommendation.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Okay, item 1, who says there isn't common sense in government? You saw a vacancy, you shifted some workers around to fill the void and actually saving the county money.
Yep.
Okay, that's kind of, I like that. The second item here, Sean, and this is a question to you, is 3 months for the pilot program, is that long enough for us to get a true evaluation if this is going to work or not? Put you on the spot twice in one meeting. Well, look at all the FaceTime you're getting. Pretty soon you'll be a Hollywood celebrity. Your picture will be in the newspaper.
I try to avoid FaceTime if I can. So we did feel that the 3 months would be a long enough period where, especially for Health and Human Services, they have a pretty good understanding of what they're looking for and what their game plan is moving forward. So we felt comfortable that 3 months would be an adequate time to evaluate. So.
Okay, the other part is I know that there's software out there to measure productivity while they're out there, because my wife works from home with Ameriprise, and all those companies they know if you're working or if you're goofing off. Unlike the picture of the opening credits of Simpsons, where the little bird presses the one key all the time to make it seem like you're working, that's not the case anymore. They can really track you pretty tight on what you're doing out there. And if you're comfortable with 3 months, then I'm fine with it, because I challenge that because when we did the library in a pilot program, a little different, I had to go 3 years because I couldn't get enough data in time. But 3 months, if you're comfortable with it, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, Commissioner Potter, will certainly know. And we did discuss, you know, a tracking program, but we didn't want to go through that, put our IT through that, and, you know, the expense and that kind of thing until we get an indication. But, and these are people that, you know they're getting their work done, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one last item, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
On item 3, and that's, thanks, Sean. Item 3, and I really am pleased that you address the concerns of leapfrogging, because that's one of the challenges we have here, 12%, 18% above, because nothing will kill morale faster than somebody just got hired today and you've been there 2 years and they're getting paid more than you.
Right.
I mean, we want to try to avoid situations like that. And
That's the question. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's a question we always ask. We want to make sure that somebody isn't coming in, although, you know, you have to look at what I consider lateral transfers too. If you're coming from another department and you've been there for 5 years, you know, you've got 5 years of experience of, you know, more than someone that just has completed their training and are hired, you know, from day one. You know, this is their first job or that kind of thing. So, yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but we certainly, you know, appreciate getting in experienced employees.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So item number 2, a question maybe Sean answers. We determined what items that we have to supply as far as like furnishings outside of the computer and stuff for this at-home employment and kind of, yeah.
Sean, actually,
Yeah.
then I have a question for you anyway. Should have made you stay up there.
So I shouldn't have condensed the minutes that much, huh?
No.
I should have just done the minutes.
Did you get your question answered?
Yeah, I was just curious if some of you guys discussed all that and, yeah.
The other thing was the risk manager. He was gonna, one of our concerns was regarding the files and how they need to be protected because of HIPAA laws and all that sort of stuff. Did that get taken care of, Sean, in discussions?
Commissioner Delighten and the board, we are looking into that, and also too, we had Frank Madden review that information as well to determine what safeguards we should have in place. We do have a pretty extensive data practices policy that we would have require all these staff that are teleworking to follow as well. So we feel that we have a lot of safeguards in place that would adequately address that issue, but we'll certainly continue looking into it and make sure that anybody who goes into the teleworking program would be well aware of what they're required. And, you know, if they bring documents, our goal is to avoid hard copies, and that we think that we have the capability of that people would be able to remotely work in and, you know, look at files that way and not have hard copies sitting around the house and things like that, so.
Okay.
Your question?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, Commissioner Betch's question, the other part of it was, you know, furniture and that kind of thing. So they're responsible to meet, I don't know if you want to call them OSHA standards, or in other words, you can't plop your computer on a card table and, you know, sit in a folding chair. So you need to have good equipment.
Office space, and they have to have childcare. They can't be sitting.
Yep.
Their kids can't be running around while they're working.
Yep, and good internet connection, that's another key factor.
And one of the other things that, you know, this is not just something Wright County came up with. It's out there with other counties. And I know one of the things that was mentioned is that most people that do telework also are required to actually have more caseload than those that are in the office. And they've proven that in other locations, other counties, that has actually happened, that they've actually increased their workload.
Yep.
Because of less interference with outside, you know, people around and stuff.
I think the teleworking thing is great. I'm just curious of just some of the little nitty-gritty nuances to it. They, you know, is like reimbursable for internet service at these homes. Are we going to have some liability to have to reimburse back for high-speed internet?
They don't do that in the civilian world.
I don't know, but I mean, I
One of
just,
the perks that you get to work from home, you
you know.
supply the desk, you supply the office, you supply the internet. If you don't want to do that, then you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly, I'm just curious what, so that the parameters are all talked out right.
Commissioner Vetch, you're correct. We would not reimburse somebody for their internet connection. We have standards that they'd have to meet in order to qualify to telework. And there's a test that IT would have them take on their computer system, make sure that their server's up to speed and things like that. And also too, another question that was brought up was, we do have ergonomic standards. IT would go out there and inspect the employee's workplace, and also too, our risk manager or somebody who's trained to go and check the ergonomics of the office space would also go out there and check the home office area for a teleworker.
Yeah, we had a great discussion, I thought.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the 3 months trial and see how it looks.
And that doesn't mean that we've made a final decision either, right? I mean, we're evaluating after 3 months to
Pilot
see
program, which
the pilot, and do we
I really
continue
like
for another
those
3
because-
months?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and it's just starting out with Health and Human Services, and it may go to other departments afterwards. We're just,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Vetch has concerns because ever since the Cubs won the World Series, now you know anything's possible.
okay.
Sounds like you guys did a good job on vetting it all out, just.
Yes.
Yep.
So I had a motion and a second.
Yes, you do.
Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Sean.
Go Cubbies.
Wright County, Commissioner Vetch, Technology Committee
All
minutes.
right, the Technology Committee met on Valentine's Day, February 14th. I'm not gonna list all the members present, there's about 16, 17 people present.
No, just first off, it was the 20. Why does it say the 20?
it says the 14th.
This is the 14th on here, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that needs to get changed on the agenda.
And
Yep.
where?
On the agenda on top here, it says 125:18.
I tell you,
Down
you
here it
scared me, I
says-
was thinking, do I have the wrong?
Well, no, and that's why when you said the
14th.
Valentine's Day,
It's
it's like,
correct.
wait a minute. Yeah, I know it's correct there, but above it's
Okay,
not.
yep, I see that now.
Okay.
Sorry, didn't
No,
mean to
you're
interrupt
good.
you.
All right. So first item on the agenda was the Office 365 status update. We reported that the first migration was completed and relatively no issues. All of the board members here should have already seen that change. The next big migration plan was for Health and Human Services with 200-plus users. IT will be on hand to help make sure all that goes smoothly. The goal is for all the migration of the Office 365 email to be completed by March 9th. The Microsoft Office full suite and Skype are planned to become available April, May-ish. That's still kind of in the process. Other than that, that was just informational update only on the Office 365. The ERP follow-up was the second item on the agenda. Infotech and the Enterprise Resource Planning, workshop was beneficial data gathering sessions that gave the county a better idea of the direction in which to take. It also provided a better understanding of the players in the vendor field. We got a good idea of what certain vendors are out there and what styles, and kind of some of them do a lot more themselves versus some of them they do just partials and use contractors for other aspects of it. Infotech will not be project manage this ERP. They are more of giving us a comprehensive kind of plan Bible to go forward into the bidding process where we be at next. We came up with fleshing out a lot of the core functions that should be included in it, from including financial management, budgeting, procurement functions, and human resource functions. There's a lot of discussion on the timing of the selection of a project manager and a vendor and which should be first. This will be kind of an ongoing discussion that will be going forward. We'll be continuing a lot of the ERP discussions in a subcommittee of the IT, which is just a small work group, a small ERP work group that Coordinator Kelly will be heading up and moving forward. There'll be an Infotech teleconference on March 9th with more details. The recommendations actions were to creation of a ERP subcommittee Infotech teleconference upcoming March 9th, and Kelly will schedule a future committee of the whole for ERP. The last item on our IT meeting was the project portfolio update. This was one that I really, hats off to Britta Holland. She did a fantastic job in creating what I'm going to call I guess kind of a collection sheet that basically allocates IT staff's time and correlates it with particular projects, and it's really transparent as to how much time has been dedicated to each project and how much time each project takes. It's a really great tracking tool. This process will allow IT to explain better to the IT committee how things are moving along. This basically kind of a spreadsheet that they created. It's going to be able to help them determine where more work needs to be placed and it gives us from the IT committee to understand when new employees come in and where they're actually being placed and what work and what projects should be done. The goal is to be able to eventually put completion dates on all these projects. This process also helped understand enterprise projects versus like technical compliance projects, kind of separating ones that we have to do and ones that we really don't have a choice versus ones that need to get done and then ones that we'd like to get done, and be able to prioritize them in that manner. So that way it makes it a little bit, we're not prioritizing ones that we really don't have a choice to prioritize. With that, the action was the committee will work on prioritization of the project list.
I think we'll be doing today.
Which we'll be doing today, yes.
You know, one of the things that maybe we should have her provide us with is that list for the other commissioners to see.
Yeah, that would be good.
You know, so you guys can see all the different projects and how she has prioritized the ones, you know, and again, we only have 30% extra, just, you know, to keep the lights on and the things we have to do and that sort of stuff, so.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
So I'll request that information from her so that we'll have that for the next week or the week after when we do the minutes for today. From
You
today.
have to agree that was a really,
Oh, yeah.
it was,
Yep. And it's not written in stone yet, it's a work in progress, but man, it's a lot what we had.
it even allocates Adam Tagaro's time on that sheet. Yes, it does every single member in IT's time. And,
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
And yeah, I'll make a motion to recommend or to approve the minutes and the recommendations for the IT committee.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Veg, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any further discussions, any questions?
Mr. Chair, just that I love how this is coming about. I mean, because before, you know, it was chasing your tail on which project gets done first. Prioritizing is going to make it more efficient use of time. And just tying all these things together in IT, Wright County's come a long way in a short period of time on getting that department functioning on all 8 cylinders per se.
You know, one of the things that I like is it's people from a number of different departments prioritizing it. So it's not just IT prioritizing it or one department prioritizing it. It's a group from a number of different departments prioritizing it to make sure that what we do needs to get done and where it has the most impact and that sort of stuff.
Well, the process is becoming, I'm going to say, less political. There's definitely some metrics to which projects get done first, which is good to see.
Yeah, and regarding the discussion with the ERP, Commissioner Potter, you've asked, once we get through the review on the 9th?
Yep,
Ninth, correct.
Yep.
On the 9th, there will be a committee of the whole, or maybe during the board meeting, depending on how much time we have, but where they're going to present something to the full board on that ERP system and the next steps and
I
stuff.
like that because as you get into these projects, at a certain point in time, you stop and let all of us know where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, because we want to encourage you to keep going, but we need to get upgraded periodically on where you're at to.
Well, the impact of this is extreme, so it's not something that two people need to make a decision on. This needs to be a full board decision,
Absolutely.
so.
I definitely have to applaud your efforts because you've been, you know, from the time Infotech came in, and of course, that you've been working on that before that too, but
It's been a challenge, but yeah, I think things are
feels
moving
like
along
it's
really good.
really been moving forward well, so thank you.
Well, through the whole Infotech process, I mean, we flushed out a lot of would like to have and need to have, that was kind of, we had to draw a line in the sand and kind of determine what those are.
So hopefully we'll be able to keep the employees around that we need and keep moving forward. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Christine, you gave me your, the tongue twisting there. I couldn't get the words all in order.
What?
From the reading the minutes there, how's it, I couldn't get the words to come out in the right manner.
Item B,
Trying to make me feel better, right?
schedule committee of the whole meeting regarding the space study. Sue, you have,
Alan was here earlier, but he had to leave to meet with people on the electronic directory. I do not know if there's been a time tentatively scheduled.
and that was regarding the
can check-
space study.
Yeah, that's about to continue on in
In
direction of
Alan's
what we're gonna
calendar, so
do.
forth.
Yeah,
You guys, how much time do we want as a board to flesh out where you're gonna feel comfortable? My question with this is soon do we have to do this? If you guys are wanting to wait to find out what happens with the resource plan from the power plant, you're gonna have to wait till September, because that's not gonna come out till September. Do we wanna keep meeting on this when nobody's gonna feel comfortable with making a decision till we find out that information? Then we might as well kinda sit on it for a while, but depends.
Well, I'm okay with waiting until September. And then the other thing is too, you have these people that are gonna be working from home, 10, 15 people, and see how that works. That's gonna definitely weigh in on any space study that we're looking at, is to see how that, I mean,
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Potter.
I'd make a motion that we table the scheduling committee of the whole until next week when Lee would come back and have him contact BKB on some dates that they have available to match up with our dates. Because if we just set something now, we'll just be guessing.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that, you know, it's a financial obligation to the county. And just as a thought, regarding the county sales tax, we can utilize some of that, and we'd have to go through a public hearing stuff. But some of that money can be utilized also for our public works building, the highway building, I'm sorry, if I remember correctly. And I think maybe that's a discussion maybe we should have as part of it too. You know, just as, you know, an alternative, if the sky falls, you know, that we've got that as an option too.
So, Mr. Chair, with the local option sales tax that we're collecting for our highway projects, some of that can be used for the public works building, the highway building.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'll second Mike's motion.
Sorry.
But just as for further discussion, Mr. Chair, I don't want us to keep meeting on this when nobody, if everybody isn't gonna wanna make a decision for 12 months from now, I mean, I don't wanna meet 10 times to try and, you know, that's a big thing that I wanna make sure that we all are cognizant of, that we're not just sitting here to keep
Right.
talking about it when nobody wants to make a decision. I'm not saying wanting a response on that, I just wanna be,
Mr.
you know.
Mr. Chair, I agree. I think that it doesn't hurt to give a little time and space before we make a decision. Let's start, you know, breaking ground for the courts facility and, you know, get some more information. I think gathering more information is important, and I don't think any of us, I mean,
Well, you want to spend money?
we want to be very, very frugal with our, you know, with our taxpayer dollars as much as we can be. We need to, we know we're going to need to do something, but I don't know if we don't need to make that decision next month.
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Commissioner
the
Potter.
reason I pushed for this space study now and early is to make sure we don't end up in that point where you're chasing your tail, trying to make a
Right.
knee-jerk decision with not much time. We have a lot of time.
We do.
got 6 months extra because the courts won't be third quarter 2019, be first quarter 2020. To get this out so you can vet it, look through it,
Yep.
and have a game plan before
Right.
occupation that you know which way you're gonna go.
Right.
Is to get this ahead of time so it's not just this knee-jerk reaction. That's what's gonna save the taxpayers money, because when you do it the other way, that's when it really costs you money.
Right.
And you need to know where you're going on
We do.
this. And that's why I'm more, we wanna get BKV has a contract with this study. I'm sure they'd like to conclude their part of it, and so we'll have the information there.
Well,
We
from
do
most-
have the luxury of time to figure out which way the wind blows, if you want to wait till September, whatever, but we should conclude the space study there, and we don't have to make a hard decision yet. We got time, but that's why I want to do this early, to give us more time before we have to make that hard decision.
Well, I think for the most part, they have concluded
They
their
have.
study.
Yeah, they're
They
not
have
putting any
concluded.
new information in.
Yeah.
No, so. you
Right,
know,
I don't know if we need to necessarily meet with them unless it's just to give them the direction of.
'Cause I don't think it-
We're sitting back for a few months to get some more information, just as far as bonding and that kind of thing is concerned.
They're important. Their input is also important.
Well, it is.
It gives us different ideas.
And they've given us a lot of, a lot of information, a lot of options, and,
And we're not the only county wrestling with this.
right,
You know, others have wrestled with it before, and Sherburne County was, they're gonna be taking occupancy pretty quick here in their courts, and they did the revamp of their whole government system. Quite a few other counties are doing the same thing, and where do we go from here?
right.
I mean, we're sitting in a good space here as far as being a county that does have growth to help mitigate some of those expenses.
Right.
I mean, but we need to know 2 years from now what we're gonna do with this issue. And it's good to have this vetted out and get people to chime in here or there. I mean, it's just like every other building we've done here since I've been in office, that some people are for it, some people are against it. When the dust settles and it's there, okay, that was a good decision. We need to keep making sure we make good decisions, and we do that by making sure we get background information and enough time to allow us to get comfortable with the decision that we're making.
Mr. Chair, I do want to applaud all of my fellow commissioners that nobody's taking this lightly. I tell you, I wouldn't want to be going into making this big of a decision without a really good dedicated group like this, because I think everybody here at all these committee of the wholes has brought some interesting and different perspectives that's really driving this, which this decision, making it as difficult as it is, because I think somewhere between everybody's view is the right answer.
Right. We still need a little more information, but yes.
Okay, so we had a motion by Commissioner Potter and a second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any other discussions? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. I see our Assistant County Attorney isn't here. Are there some dates, Sue, that we have for having a closed session?
Yes, it's my understanding that March 27th,
Oh, not till then?
That far out, huh?
yeah, at 10:30 a.m., that's following your board meeting.
Okay.
March 27th?
Yes.
Okay.
The Chair, I'll make the motion to set the closed session for March 27th at 10:30.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Peaslem, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Advisory Committee, Advisory Board updates. Let's see, I let Commissioner Burrell last time.
I don't have anything.
Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Burrell again.
Nothing.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Houston.
Thank you. The Wright County Emergency Medical Services Advisory Council met last Wednesday, And a number of things we were on the table for discussion. One was a reminder to, if you are not signed up for the Everbridge for emergency notifications, to go on the website and enter your cell phone number. Some people don't have home phone numbers anymore, so for emergency messages.
Actually, as long as you bring that up, there's also another spot on the county website where you can get notices regarding meetings, anything that's happening in different departments. So when something gets posted, you would get a notification too.
Wow.
So
That's good to know.
that's something that is also out there for people that they should be aware of, and they have to sign up for that. But anytime something's posted of an interest to them, they will get an email.
It's a great way to get your county agenda packet.
Yep. Actually, I'm set up so that
I'm
as soon as
set
it's
up
posted, I get it.
Nice.
That's how I got mine. Yeah.
And there was kind of a lot of discussion about when emergency responders, ambulance services pick up people with mental health issues or whatever, what the protocol is, and, whether they can take them to certain hospitals or not. So there's going to be more discussion and to establish some good protocols for that. Their hospitals have a number of beds set aside for mental health or people on like suicide watch and that kind of thing that are maybe a danger to themselves or others. But after those beds are filled, they need notification so they can strip down and make other rooms safe rooms, essentially. And there's going to be Skywarn training on March 22nd. They've
What?
got some
Sky?
Skywarn, so people that do the weather watch.
Oh.
And I didn't get where that was, so I think that they normally do. Does anyone know? Do you know, Todd? Do they do that right here?
Been in 120
120. I think they usually do it in 120, but so and yeah, just.
What time was that gonna be at?
They were going through things kind of fast, so I probably shouldn't have shared that
It
without,
couldn't be from 10 to 12. 'cause
yeah,
they
it might
have to
be
come
during the
up
daytime,
over there
okay.
at 120.
Okay, yep. And, yeah, a lot about the opioids and getting the Narcan, which is wonderful that our Central Minnesota EMS has some grant funding and that kind of thing, like they were able to provide so many doses for our sheriff's office. Then I also went to the State Community Health Services Advisory Committee on Friday, and we have a new Minnesota Department of Health Commissioner, Jan Malcolm, and she had actually served in that role 20 years before, so she's, it's a challenge, but she's really looking at it as an opportunity, as a responsibility. There's always the discussion about, funding and that kind of thing. They, the money that they receive from, money received from both state is determined really how it's delivered and distributed to the different departments. So, the State Health Committee gets $255 million from federal funding and $88 million general funding, and there's $216 million from other funding. And the grants that they give out, they give $57 million for local grants, $18 million for non-governmental, 1.8 for the sovereign nations, and 1.2 for education agencies. So don't really know. The 2019 budget, federal budget, doesn't have real detail yet, so they're not real sure, how it's going to be distributed. There was a 21% reduction in Health and Human Services, and Center for Disease Control also, there was a 19% cut. Of course, it came up again, this has been on the news, about 1 cent fee per prescription that will generate $20 million for helping in the opioid crisis. There's a prescription monitoring program. They talked about that. Also, one of the big things that has been in the news is the elder abuse and how that wasn't handled properly at the state level. So they're going to ensure that all complaints are coming to a common entry point. They're had staff issues. There wasn't enough people, in place, and so hopefully all those things that had slipped through the cracks now are going to be addressed. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Just one thing to note, in Forest Lake, there's a company that wants to put in a 60-bed juvenile mental health facility at a place that does horse equine
Therapy?
therapy.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Forest Lake is going to allow it to happen.
Oh,
Really?
But there are other cities close by that are welcoming them to do it. And it's because of where it's located, and there's some concerns about changing their zoning out there. But there is a huge shortage of mental health beds, which is one of the things that, as you remember, tomorrow and Thursday we'll be down in St. Paul with AMC, meeting with our legislators to bring to attention to them, again, our concerns that affect Wright County, and mental health, again, for all the counties of Minnesota, rose to the top. So hopefully the legislators and stuff will actually come up with some funding and some ideas on how we can solve this issue.
and perhaps bring back all the hospitals that they closed in the 70s for.
There was another article regarding the one up in Fergus Falls, where they were talking about maybe reopening
The
that,
Batwing?
but now Fergus Falls is asking for money to demolish the building.
Oh,
But it's on the historical register, so they have to sign off on it first. But they've tried to redo it and have different companies come in, but it just hasn't been, and it's not the most efficient facility
No, but
either.
Right, and-
incredibly, it's an
yeah,
incredible, huge building, yeah.
Beautiful building. But all right, Commissioner Vetch.
I have nothing this week because everything is in the next 2 weeks for me, so I'll have much more to report next week.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Met library board last Tuesday night. We had the three committees. The finance committee was the start. To let you know that it appears that the library, Great River Regional Library, will have an excess of $356,000 left over from, and most of it's people that retired, employment changes and that. It's a little decrease from where we thought we were going to be in November, but you got, like Bob was telling us earlier, you got to wait till the end of the year to figure that one out. Okay, we also discussed on that the 2019 budget timeline, which we, 2 years ago, we implemented what's called baseline budgeting at the insistence of Benton County, Morrison and Todd County. That's how Benton County's been doing theirs for quite a long time, and a couple of years back, Monty from Benton County gave us a quick overview on it. And since most of them were real comfortable with that process, we decided to keep going with that particular method because everybody was comfortable with it.
What is that method?
Excuse me, it's whatever you're spent and whatever you agreed to, for wages and whatever, that's your baseline. Anything you want over that, then you put in, you discuss it with, if you want projects, if you want to do other things. It's whatever commitments you have that you spent last year, you've agreed to for the next year, like, collective bargaining agreements and things like that, rent, things like that. This is your base, this is it. Some of them, they like it because it's nice and simple for them to see, and all the projects kind of stand out. If you want to do, like a couple of years ago, we did a 2% for the IT end of the Great River Regional Library, and it was a little contentious, but when they saw the benefit, and actually after the fact, most of them saw the benefit to it. You can't go digital without having supported IT. It's just not going to work. So that was there in a So that was good information on that. We got the timeline here on this. These comes with the, started with the 20th here, and going through, and by July, you'll have July 17th, you'll have the full adoption of the 2019 budget, because in time for all the counties, us to get our numbers in.
Yep.
So we adopted the process. Then the March 2nd, departments will come up with their base budget estimates to be submitted. March 20th, the Finance Committee will review the base budget, will review it, question, challenge, whatever. April 17th, the department heads present approved ones to a Finance Committee. And then on May 15th, we adopt the preliminary, and that's the one after that one, we'll come back to let you know what our preliminary was. With baseline budgeting, pretty much your preliminary and your final are gonna be really the same
Yeah.
thing. So it's a timeline that seems to work. It gives people enough time to get their questions answered, and it's worked well so far for that system, because it was chaotic before, and we seem to have a little bit of peace and harmony in that organization now, which is good. The next one was the Personnel Committee, which I was chair the last couple of years. I termed off that, so I'm not chair anymore. Wayne Bauernschmidt showed up late, so he got to be the chair. Thank you, Wayne, And so the biggest thing for this one is 2013, we did a class in comp study. And this time, it's just a tune-up of that. Because every few years you need to revisit to make sure you're on task. We were not in compliance with the pay equity report with the Great River Regional Library, although, the county, we had that a couple weeks ago where we were in compliance.
Yep.
We weren't at the Great River Regional Library because we dropped a mail class completely, so that kind of skews the numbers. And we haven't gotten the letter from the Department of Revenue and those people yet, but we will. But so to be preemptive, we're going to tune this up now, and the letter will be sent to them to let them know that we are looking into this. We are, getting this. It's up to $10,000 compensation. We got the two companies that are been involved in this before that are that'll come back, and the money came from the executive director search fund that we had money left over we didn't spend, and then the payroll service fund was the other part of it that's adds up to about 11,000. So that's where we're getting the money from to do this, because it wasn't the imperative to do it until we found out we were out of compliance. Then it's like, okay, where are we getting the money from? This also led to the question of when we have budgeted items for like executive search, when that money sits there, do we put it back into the capital fund? Do we continue with that funding of that particular thing and have a line item in there? So that'll be more ongoing for the next couple times. In the special session, which would happen there, bet through the distribution process, because as you know, Sartell is now under the locker. We're under a pilot program. That's a 3-year pilot program to see if that drop box situation works. So far, it's worked so well that Sartell has approved a second delivery and paying the freight, the whole cost of them coming there for a second one. Because what they're doing is we're having a lot of books coming back because the lockers that they have there are so full and people don't pick them up quick enough. So now it'll go from a Tuesday and probably a Tuesday and Friday delivery. So if you get your delivery Tuesday, you'll get notified either by text, email, whichever form you chose. If you don't have it by Friday, a lot of times they'll take it back and you'll get back on list, because the lockers are getting clogged up and we're bringing bags of books back. So it's so far so good on that. We'll see how that goes through time.
Well, good.
And the strategic plan is part of what we're going for, the reports for the different areas within there, what's going to go through the next bunch of basically a couple of years now. But we reviewing and updating what we started in 2016 to 2020. So the other thing, we got December circulation stats. And 4 of our libraries here saw an increase in Wright County in circulation December, which is good. It's good to see them go up a little bit. The lead was St. Michael at 3.6, followed by Andale at 3.2, which is good. Well, Monticello's down a little bit. Buffalo's gone up is up by 0.5%, but that, they had to deal with road construction the other year, so it takes a while for people to get back in the habit of that. We're seeing a trend of all the circulation going down a little bit because people are going more digital, what have you, ebooks, whatever. And so it's just one thing we're monitoring, we'll see what's going on with that. It's interesting with this one because we're still delivering the service 30% less than every other system in the state. So basically, if the system's not broke, don't try to fix it.
Very efficient.
Right, it seems to work, and we're the only one with a central hub. The other ones all they're spread out. We have the central St. Cloud hub, and it seems to work well for us. So when, like say, going ahead we reach out to the different branches, what do we need to do to help get the numbers up there with it on?
Well, we're the only, well, maybe we're not, but we serve a lot of different counties.
Yes.
What is it, 7?
No.
There's 5 of us.
5?
Is there only 5?
Morrison.
6, excuse me, 6. We got Stearns, Sherburne, Wright, Todd Morrison, 5. That's it.
Right.
Benton, Todd Morrison.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's quite a few. So, you know, so for that situation, having that central hub makes a lot.
It's a huge area.
And it's really, I mean, really St. Cloud couldn't have been a better location in terms of
Yeah.
or
Location.
geographic.
Yeah, because, Stearns County reaches way out there halfway to South Dakota. That makes it a little bit of a challenge, but the thing is that they have a system that seems to work out well there. We've updated how we do the delivery and what kind of vehicles we get for it. I think they're a little more efficient than we did before, and they are spending money setting up the routes. The extra IT person from a couple of years, and they're going to just the digital, it was helping in the routing, scheduling, and everything else, and it's paying dividends for us now. That's why some of the money was turned back, the efficiencies within the system. But it still works out good. We still encourage people to use the library. You get those little lulls, with the birth rates going, up, baby boom, baby bust. You still get those little ebbs and flows. That just happens. It's the nature of the beast.
Well, libraries aren't just books anymore anyway.
No, it's a lot more than just that. The other one, Mr. Chair, getting a little long here, but the Region 7W, the District 3, we went through our local federal project update, and Virgil and some of the engineers are working on the bridge scoring system because we're seeing us not faring too well on that as far as the way that it's set up, and they're looking for tweaks and modifications to make it so we just don't get any bridges, but we still can try to keep it, because I don't want us get nothing and then all of a sudden all the bridges are going bad. Our bridges are in pretty good shape in ours, in our region. I know Wright County, Virgil, and the crew has been on top of ours. We don't have as many as some counties do. Another thing is they changed the City of Buffalo, the functional classification range. That's for Settlers Parkway. Became a major collector, a major arterial. And the one that going in front of the old Coburn's out by Willow Creek Lane and out that way became a minor.
Yep.
It was the time to do it, because you couldn't do that data before because they had just done it just like before Settlers Parkway opened up, so now I had to wait until you get a little data and time to do it. It was the right thing to do with that. We did the Transportation Alternative Programs ranking, and Virgil presented on that. There wasn't really nothing just stands out at you on that one. Did the District 3, the 10-year capital investment plan, and we got a schedule on that. We talked about our Met Council 7W annual meeting, let them know what was going on. The 7W, the funded for fiscal year 2022, the federal dollars that came to our projects, and County Road 19 and St. Michael between the one-way pairs came out as the highest scoring project on all this, and that's $1.5 million in the federal money, and that's got a $1.5 million local match on that dollar, and that's been programmed, and we've been anticipating this for a while. The second project was in Sherburne County, CASA 13, reconstruction and major improvements, and there's a potential for some savings on that if they get some HSIP money, which another acronym for Christine's thing. If they do that, they'll be able to take $1 million off that and bring that down to the project number 3 in Stearns County, Casas 70 through. That's the one between Stearns, Todd County, up Stock Center. You just get north of the freeway, the old state highway. It was, before the freeway came in. Another one needs to be done. Again, these are, when we go through these meetings, and Jim Rothstein was there, and runs a really tight meeting schedule. You talk, you move. I mean, he gets out of there pretty quick.
Okay, so is that a hint?
Yeah, that's a hint that he runs it a little tight. But anyway, that's with that one, Mr. Chair, and all the rest of it there. And the other thing is, I had Alan forward to me, and I forward to all of you, the projects update, all there, so you kind of know where everything's at. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. Anybody else have anything to add? Sue, do you have anything from administration?
No, I do not.
All right. And we are adjourned at 10:11.
Could have had our committee meetings this morning.
Aren't they